going to
Bucks Chargers. Bucks win the game in LA 40-17. Top 5 graded players from the Buccaneers in this game. At the very top of the list, it's wide receiver Mike Evans, who somehow, some way, still has a chance to get 1,000 yards this season. A realistic chance now after a monster performance against the Chargers. 91.7 overall grade for Mike Evans in this one. Offensive tackle Luke Gedeke with an 89.3. Linebacker J.J. Russell with an 80.4. Guard Cody Mock having a really nice second half of the season, 80.2. Offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs a 79.5, and then quarterback Baker Mayfield a 76.6. On LA's side of things, defensive tackle Poona Ford at the top of the list with a 79.0. Defensive tackle Teair Tart with a 78.5. Safety Derwin James Jr. a 75.6. Offensive tackle Joe Alt 75.1, and then wide receiver Quentin Johnston with a 73.2. Quarterback Justin Herbert a 63.4. overall grade in this one. Stat that told the story. What do you got?
I'm going on the Chargers side. This offense, the inconsistency of this offense is very concerning. This is the third straight game where their offense was shut out for an entire half. Or if I want to go back, they've scored 2 points. So against the Falcons in the second half, they had a pick six, and then the offense scored a 2-point conversion. Cool, but I'm counting it. Last week, was it the first half against Kansas City? They got shut out. This week against Tampa, shut out in the second half. We can't have this offense just being wait for Ladd McConkey to get open 12, 14 times.
That's kind of where they're at this point in time, though.
Yeah, because the most disappointing part to me is, yes, they want to run the football. It's Jim Harbaugh. It's Greg Roman. They're not getting it done. They only ran for 32 yards in this game. Mm-hmm. And I know eventually it got away with them with the way the Bucs are playing, but their fourth straight game under 100 yards. There isn't any balance in this offense. They're kind of just waiting for Herbert and McConkey to save them. Herbert's getting hit a lot more than he did earlier in the year, and it's kind of racking up. You saw his ankle getting wrapped and all that stuff where it's like, okay, this is starting to feel like last year's Chargers on offense a little bit. And look, they've been really good. Their defense has been really good, but you can't have entire halves of football where your offense shuts down. And really, for this game, kind of the opposite of the Bills, where the Chargers were really good their first 3 drives. Well, then they shut down. First 3 drives, 148 yards, 17 points. Hell yeah, right? Their last 8 drives, they gained 58 yards. I mean, they're going too long a stretches where their offense now, because the run game isn't there, and we've got Dobbins hurt, and we've got Kamani Vidal getting a bunch of touches. I think probably more than they expected even at this point in the season. They don't have balance. They're not getting ahead, and now it's back to Justin Herbert, save us. And I think it just still shows us that they still, with this roster, have a ways to go in the offseason, developing it into a well-rounded offense especially. Because honestly, their defense, with as hot as the Bucs got, there wasn't a whole lot their defense was going to be able to do in this game. They still need some things on defense, on the talent side there as well. But offensively, there's no rhythm whatsoever right now with this team.
I mean, I'll just go into my most disappointing as well, because to me, the Chargers are the textbook definition of a middle-of-the-pack football team this year. They are very hot and cold on the offensive side of the ball. Sometimes it looks great. Sometimes it looks like they can't move the football. And on defense, against teams that are above 500, they have a defensive grade of a 66.4. Against teams below 500, they have a defensive grade of 89.3. They kick the crap out of teams that are bad, and they normally can't hang with teams that are good.
Sounds like a wild card team.
They are true. I mean, it sounds like a team that's like a borderline wild card team, which I think a very favorable schedule for them this year has allowed them to get to this point. I mean, Cincinnati's still threatening technically. Miami is still threatening technically. The Colts are still threatening technically. But they have a 2-game lead on both of those, or all 3 of those teams. And 2 out of the 3 teams that they play down the stretch are the Raiders and the Patriots. This is the Chargers I'm talking about. So the Chargers are probably going to make the last wild card spot in the AFC. But it is still sort of to what you were talking about with the offense of Ladd McConkey. It's got to be more than Ladd McConkey. It feels like it's just Ladd McConkey this year because that's kind of what it is this year. So to me, the defense is along the same lines as that. I saw the stat from Jenna Lane, who covers the Bucs for ESPN. This is only the 3rd time in history this past game that a Jim Harbaugh-led NFL team has given up more than 500 yards per game. So pretty impressive from Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, and just the team in general. To me, the stat that told the story is Baker Mayfield in the second half. 8 for 8 passing, 143 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 big-time throw, a 90.3 passing grade. I tweeted this out in a little bit more colorful language than this, but man, is this team fun to watch when it's going well. When it's not, all right, yeah, it doesn't look pretty, but this team, when they have momentum and their foot on the gas, they put up a ton of points, and they are a ton of fun to watch. Whether it is Mike Evans, whether it is Bucky Irving, whatever's happening in the backfield, Cade Otton, the young guys coming up around Mike Evans as well, Baker himself. Like, this is a fun team and a fun offense to watch when it's all clicking. And certainly in the second half, they pulled away in a big way to win this game by a score of 40-17. So I really like that. And then I'll just wrap it up with my most impressive, Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving in this game, their rookie running back, he's been so impressive all season. 15 carries, 117 rushing yards, 82 yards after contact. There's no guarantee that this guy was going to play. This guy plays running back, and he plays as hard as possible every time he touches the football. And he was dealing with a back injury and a hip injury. He has been for the last 3 weeks. So for him, as a player who is questionable going into this game, at beginning of the week, Todd Bowles was asked, hey, do you think Bucky will play? And because Bucky missed most of last game due to an injury, he played, but I think he only played the first series, and then clearly they just let Rachaad White have the rest of it because Bucky wasn't healthy. And he's like, yeah, I mean, if his back loosens up, dude, if I'm at the point where if my back's tight, I'm not doing anything for 3 weeks. This guy's not only playing in an NFL game, he is running hard as hell doing so. I watched this game and I was like, I wonder if Bucky's going to be holding back a little bit given his injury. Absolutely not. He doesn't know any other way to play the game. So he was my most impressive, playing through injury and playing really well for this team. But I only talked about Bucky Irving because I know that you're going to talk about another guy. So go ahead with most impressive and what's his
3 weeks. One more note on that. 3 weeks left to go, and Bucky is still the highest graded rookie in football at any position.
Love that.
Of all the guys to pick for that award, I probably wouldn't have picked him. Good player at Oregon. I wouldn't have picked him to be the highest graded rookie in football. But listen, we have to talk about future Hall of Famer Mike Evans. Got himself into the top 25 all-time in receiving yards. I got to be honest, he's still only 31 years old. If you look at the numbers, there's a real chance he could wind up second all-time in receiving yards. I think he's less than 5,000 yards away from that. He could actually.
Now I got to look it up.
He could actually take. No one's ever catching Jerry. He's
right.
22,000 yards ain't happening. But there's a real chance that Evans, if he's got 4 or 5 more good years, solid years in him, he could pass Larry for second.
He's 20.
He's 24.
So he's 24th on the list right now, and he has, for all intents and purposes, 12 and a half. So he's got 12,500 yards. If he gets, he's gonna. Even if he eclipses that, I think for the rest of the season he's gonna still stay at 24. He would need.
We're talking 4 years.
Right around 5,000. 5,000. I don't think he'll hit it. But there is a realistic chance that he could get in the top 10. Yeah, he could.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's that out of. I mean, it feels like he should.
I just don't know how much longer he's gonna play.
Man, I'll tell you what. If I was trying to put my name next to Larry Fitzgerald on that list,
sure.
Keep going. Also, if he's still going to be one of the best darn receivers in football,
man, the gap is so crazy. It's Jerry at 12.8.
Then it's 22.8.
Sorry. 22.8, and then it's Larry Fitzgerald at 17.4, and then it's Terrell Owens at 15.9. There's a significant gap between T.O. and Larry Fitzgerald.
I think we're talking about him getting in that territory if he plays 4 more years.
Let's see.
Healthy. But, no, I think, look, 9 catches for $159 and 2 touchdowns in this game. And I think the big thing that they've done with him is, with Chris Godwin obviously out for the year. And there's other guys playing well. We're running the ball well. The O-line's getting better. We got Jalen McMillan. I like the way they're getting him involved. And obviously we've seen big weeks from Cade Otton. But I want to talk about how this goes with the Bucs. And, our guys behind the scenes do a great job with our quarterback charting, right? And one of the things we keep track of is first read, second read, check down, and everything that goes on after that. So Mike Evans on Baker Mayfield's first read this season, 33.7 threat percentage, all right, which is a top 8 mark in the NFL among receivers. But since he's come back from his injury, the last 4 weeks, Baker on his first read is targeting Mike Evans on 47.5% of his routes, which is by far leading the NFL. It's basically, we're either going to run the ball or we're going to find a way to get the ball to Mike Evans. And Baker, if you have to work something beyond that, then to do whatever the hell you need to do beyond that. But they've really centered this thing now more on Evans than ever with Godwin out. And everyone else knows, because he's Mike freaking Evans, that they are the secondary option here. And they're just creating in some of the same ways that they did for Chris Godwin earlier in the year. You see Evans moving around the formation. You see him in the slot even a little bit, even though he's 6'6" and whatever, right? You got that big slot thing going. They are just finding more and more ways to use Evans, maybe more than ever, certainly more than they had at an earlier point this season. But they know, they're like, look, Godwin's gone. We got to get it out of somebody, and it's probably going to be Mike Evans because he's one of the best to ever do it. 47.5% over the last 4 weeks on Baker's first read.
It's pretty impressive.
That's just silly. You know it's going there.
So Evans is 31 now. He'll be 32 next year. That'll be the last year of his contract. But he does have money and a cap hit on a void year in 2026. So you can convert that into a real contract number. So you can extend it a little bit there. Maybe 33. Then you got 2 more void years on top of it, but it's not a lot of cap to eat for that. But then he's 34, 35. I don't know, man. That's just I think he can get into the top 10. I think that's realistic. Him getting all the way into the top 5, top 3 would be.
You would just have to keep playing.
He would have to keep playing at a really high level.
Clearly, he's going to refuse to not have 1,000 yards in a season.
Don't jinx him. Don't jinx him now. Don't jinx it.
Oh, you'd kick me off the show if I jinxed that one.
I know, and you kind of just did.
It is what it is.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can come one today.